Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to dive into the topic of hard to tattoo spots. Not only that, I want to give you some tips and tricks that you can immediately apply on your end to better approach areas that are tough to tattoo. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'm going to do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this. First and foremost, the areas that I'm going to be talking about here aren't limited to the areas that are tough to tattoo on the human body. In fact, there are a lot of areas that are going to be very tough to tattoo, in which I will try to talk about as many as possible and kind of talk about why they are tough spots to tattoo, so that way you can kind of get my, ideology, understanding, reasoning behind why I feel certain spots are tough to tattoo. Stick around to the very end of the video so that way I can demonstrate for you all as well why some spots are tough, and I can actually show you better ways that we can go about approaching some areas that are a little bit more tougher to tattoo. My point is, I'm going to use what I have here available to me, maybe along with some demonstration images or something like that, to kind of get my points across here throughout this video. Again, if you have any questions, drop them down below. I want to start with more common areas that are tough to tattoo, and then I want to get into more less common areas. So as you can see, I have an assortment of different silicone limbs in front of me. I have a hand with the wrist, and then I have a foot. I will leave my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you in the description below to the gear that's featured in this video, so you can check it out on your end. What makes something difficult to tattoo? In my opinion, what makes something difficult to tattoo is anything other than flat. Let's say if we're tattooing on a flat surface, the same way we would using this fake skin, for example. This right here can be tattooed, for example, on a flat surface, which is going to be tremendously easier than tattooing on something that has a curve to it. You can kind of see even at the top of this foot right here, there is a little bit of a concave to it. So therefore, that variable alone from flat to a sort of like curvature surface changes everything, because now we have to start changing our posture, our stretch hand position. We have to start adapting to the surface area that we now have. As you can see, this slab is a bit different from this fake skin. There's no way that I can flatten out this foot here, as it is a silicone limb. You can see the slab right here sits flush here, and I can use the surface to kind of bounce back at me. Here I'm just using the silicone limb and kind of my hand to fill out the needle depth. So there are multiple variables to consider when we're tattooing on flat versus a curved surface. And in my opinion, that right there is the main difference. That alone makes it tremendously difficult, or I would say maybe not tremendously, but it does make it much more difficult to apply a tattoo correctly on a curvature surface over a flat. Now, that's kind of one step to how difficult this can be. So picture that as the first level, kind of where we're doing, more curvature areas, like the top of this foot right here. As you can see, it does have a curve to it, and then we can kind of apply that to the hand right here. You can kind of see on top of the hand there are little dents and grooves that kind of ripple and wave throughout the hand here, making it not a flat surface. And then the same thing over here, we have some textures right here in the knuckles, and then we have texture all throughout this fake this fake silicone limb right here. And this also has a sort of curve to it. So none of these are completely flat. That right there is the first level. I kind of feel we kind of start getting a little bit more, I guess, in an advanced level, like let's say level 2, for example, where we start tattooing fingers, where we start applying little tattoos in areas like this. I'm also going to demonstrate with this right here how I can go about, making my time applying a tattoo in a tough spot a bit more easier. So I'm going to relay some tips and tricks there for you all. But that right there is, I feel, a level kind of 2 tattoo. And this is kind of just how I'm classifying these. I feel like this is a level 1 in terms of complexity and advancedness. And then level 2 would be, like, for example, someone wanted a mandala right here on the toe. That's a bit more advanced because there's little more room for error. There's also a smaller canvas size, so there's only so much that we're going to be able to do. So I feel the smaller the canvas size and the more detailed the tattoo, the more complex it becomes and the more difficult it is. On top of that, dealing with a, let's say, mandala difficult design, whether it has very dainty thin line work or dot work, and combine that with doing it on top of something like this that's not completely flat, that's going to be very, very difficult, as you can see. So I feel like this is kind of a level 2 in terms of advancedness when it comes to applying a tattoo to a curved area. So you can kind of see how I'm breaking this down. You can kind of see my ideology behind levels of complexity and advancedness when it comes to applying tattoos on curved surfaces. I feel like level 2 would apply to pretty much like any finger or toe. So even like, for example, this area right here, I feel like that would kind of be more of a level 2. Right here, I feel like it's a level 1 simply because it's easier to position in posture and it feels a little bit more close to home when tattooing on a flat surface. Although this is still curved, it's not as curved as a finger or a toe would be. I'm sure some of us are asking, is there a level 3? Well, in my opinion, I would say yes, there is. And I'll kind of break down how I break this down here in a moment. But I would say level 3 would be like, for example, this ear right here. I feel like this is a perfect example of what a level 3 tattoo would be, simply because of the complexity. You can see the detail packed into the design, and you can see how it kind of has to wrap around the ear perfectly. So you can see there are multiple hurdles that I have to go through to apply this tattoo in a correct and clean manner, and in a manner that it would heal and stay over time as well, not bleed too much, and still be readable for many, many, many years to come. So you can kind of see and hear my logic rather, and thought process when it comes to a level 3 tattoo. On top of that, the reason why I feel it's a level 3 is because it's on the ear, so it's a more sensitive area than anything. It's on the head, it's right there. A lot of people are going to see it if they don't have long hair, then that's another factor to consider. So all of these variables do come into play, and if someone did have long hair, well, the tattoo is hideable if it didn't come out the way that they wanted. You kind of get the idea behind that logic though. So there is a lot to consider making this a level 3 tattoo, but all in a nutshell though, I would consider this a level 3 tattoo because it is in a more noticeable area, and it is a detailed design in a more sensitive area. So those are kind of important variables that I feel would make up a level 3 tattoo. I feel like that would pretty much go for, let's say, on the side of the face as well. This is another great example that I have right here. I feel like this right here would be a level 3 tattoo. As you can see, it's kind of on the top of the forehead right here, going along the side. Has to bend a little bit and match the concave and curvature of the forehead. So I feel like that would make it a level 3. I do feel like this as well would be a level 3 tattoo, just because it's multiple line weights, dot work as well. Everything has to be on point because it's right here in front of the face. It's very noticeable. This is what everyone would see if they first were to see this person right here is the tattoo in the middle. That's not very common. It is unusual, so therefore it would stand out. I feel like those are important variables to consider, so therefore it has to be executed cleanly and correctly, making it, I feel, a level 3 tattoo, maybe even going into level 4 in these more sensitive areas, such as directly on the face. You can see another area right here I would consider kind of level 3 going into level 4 would be on the chin. Again, because of the sensitivity, it is directly on the face. So that is kind of the ideology and logic and thought process that I'm using to kind of determine different levels of tattoos. It's important to note that all levels should be treated equally. If it's a level 1 and it's easy to apply, then take your time and apply it correctly. If it's a level 3 or 4, then you may want to take your time and apply it correctly. Now, for me personally, I feel like level 4s would be maybe something along the lines of like on the tongue, maybe over the eye, or on the eyelid, I feel, for example, maybe right here in the underlip side. I feel like areas like that would be a level 4, maybe even on like the bottom of the foot and on the palms, just because of those healing, how they typically tend to heal on the bottom of the foot and on the palm. You kind of get the idea. But for me, if there were to be a level 4, then that would be it. I try to keep it to minimal, maybe 1, 2, 3 levels, but it does make sense to consider this level simply because people do get tattoos in these more exotic areas, such as the tongue and under the lip right here on the inner side. I hope that that can give you some insight as to how I view different complexities and levels of various different tattoos on various different spots. Granted, there are many, many more spots that we have to consider, so you can kind of maybe take what you want from the system and leave what you don't to gauge future tattoos that you come across on your end. From here, what I would like to do is switch on over to a different angle, so that way we could take a close-up look at how I would go about tattooing this area right here, for example. So let's switch on over to that angle and let's get that going. For this demonstration here, I'm going to be using this Silicone Hand right here. This was a spirit stencil paper to place this design that was printed on the, I think, MHTP 8008 thermal printer. Again, affiliate links will be for you in the description below. I'm also going to be using a TNT 18 round liner along with the Emalla Grand tattoo machine to make this tattoo happen right here. I'm also going to be using Inkeeze pink ointment to clean this up with Mummy Triple Black tattooing ink. I'm also using Phantom tattoo gloves along with some Scotch shop wipes here. When it comes to applying tattoos in sensitive areas like this, I feel like this is a sensitive area because it's on the finger. The client is going to see it every day, and anyone the client comes across is also going to see it. So these are areas where we want to be a little bit, I guess, more careful and mindful. Not that we wouldn't be on any other tattoo that we've done. However, the idea is we want to take special care when it comes to like fingers and toes, the ears. You can get the idea, eyelids, lips. All these areas should be taken with extreme caution and kind of thought out as we're doing it. So for example, when I'm doing this tattoo, I'm going to ask the client by default to try to stay like this. And then I'm going to ask them to kind of, move right here and kind of adjust to me. So the idea behind this approach is to get comfortable so that way I could apply each and every individual line as cleanly as I can. I'm not going to take long on this design as it is a smaller design, so the client wouldn't have to be uncomfortable for a very long time. So therefore I would use that to my advantage, and I would position the client in ways that makes the workflow easier and beneficial for me as the artist that's applying the tattoo. So that right there is one way that we could tremendously impact our workflow, is by adjusting our posture, our angle, and the client along the way to get the best results, in terms of comfortability. So that is what you want to prioritize as well along the way throughout the workflow, is being comfortable, making sure that you're able to start from A to B without wobbling. If not, prioritize yourself and ask the client to move in ways that are going to benefit you as the artist. Along with that, what I like to do is I like to take a look at the line width that I'm going to be using, and I like to use the needle that's very, very close to that. So for example, this is going to be an 18 round liner. As you can see, I'm using the Emalla Grand, and I'm going to be running at a 4.2 stroke. So that way I could simply pack the ink in there and get out. I'm going to be running at 5 volts, so that way I could move at a slower pace, which is going to minimize any sort of wobbles or mistakes that I should make along the way. So that's the ideology, that's the, I guess, approach that I'm going to go with. These are all kind of just easy, tangible things that we can use immediately on our end for better results. So you can see I'm not really comfortable right here because the fingers are going down because it is silicone. So I have to figure out a way to problem solve that. And I feel like I'm going to do that by getting a Scotch shop wipe. And I need to make like a brace for this area, and then I'm going to kind of roll it up in a manner that would hold the finger up when I start applying pressure. So I would put this between the client's hand like so. And then now I'm going to start working on this area, and I have a sort of backing here so the silicone finger isn't flimsy anymore. So you can see I'm problem solving along the way. Allow me to zoom in here, and from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to again run at a very low voltage, and I'm going to just grab a little bit of ink so that way I don't experience too much pulling. I'm also just going to apply a little bit of ointment so that way I don't clog my needle. So these are all, I feel, very, very important steps to make. As you can see, I'm holding the client and I'm asking them to position themselves like so, holding the finger right here. Can't really do much stretching in this area of the body. So you can see these are all little things that I'm doing to make it easier for me to apply this tattoo. Now, over here in the back end, I do have my arms right here braced on the table that I'm using to tattoo this client, and I'm able to get comfortable. Before I commit and put the needle into the skin here, I'm going to make sure that my pinky and hands are braced and I am stable. I can move the machine in any way that I want, so that way I can have the best, cleanest results. So you can see I have stability right here, so I'm going to go for it and attempt to yield clean results. Still running at 5 volts. Hopefully you can see this on camera, making sure that my angle is correct, along with my needle depth, matching my hand speed to my voltage. And then I'm going to taper out like so. And then from here, I can dab. You really don't want to wipe, so that way you minimize stencil loss. and then I'm going to continue with the other side. Still have a little bit of ointment, so I don't want to add too much ointment. Make sure that my angle is correct. And then I'm going to start from A to B. And taper into the existing line like so. And then we're going to clean that off, and you can see we have two clean solid lines. I'm going to continue this process throughout this design. Okay, I know that angle may not have been the best, and I apologize for that. Let me go ahead and redeem myself here. So I'm going to continue with this approach, as I really did feel comfortable and stable, and I'm kind of just going to work my way up throughout the tattoo here. So I'm going to do my best to stay on frame here while I record this and explain my approach here. I always want to make sure that I have ointment, not too much, not too little. And then I want to, from here, begin to apply the design as I see it. So I want to identify my point A and B. So I'm going to start right here. As you can see, I'm stable. I can move in a comfortable manner. I want to make sure that my angle is correct. And these are all just little practical things that we can do, I guess, to enhance our performance when applying a design. And I just feel like really working at that lower voltage really does help me get through the design, making minimal mistakes. I don't feel like I have to rush through it or anything like that, which is a great feeling, which is less stressful along the way. And then from here, I'm just going to apply this as I see fit. As you can kind of see, it is a blurry design, but we're just going to work with it. I'm going to apply this one right here. And you can kind of see though that I'm staying the same throughout the entire approach. I'm just making sure that I'm comfortable. I identify my point A and B before I go, make sure I have adequate ink flow, and then I adjust. So you can see I'm moving over here to this side of the design in the tattoo, so that way I could apply this area of the design. So I'm going to start building over here. I'm also going to be dipping back in for more ink. Since this is a smaller area, I don't really feel like it's necessary to dip in for ink after every single little pull. But to each their own. You can if you'd like. I just do the very tip of my needle. So again, you want to be comfortable. Identify your A point. Make your way on over to your B point. And repeat that. You can see I'm stable. I'm working with the client as the client's working with me to tattoo this tough area. And this is the process that you would use almost on any area. You would just have to adjust and find unique ways like this to kind of better benefit your workflow along the way. And then we're just going to keep on going here. And then from here you can see I kind of either move the thumb around, adjust, like you see me doing here, and apply to the best of my ability. So you can see I'm moving completely. I'm going to start from my A point, make my way on over to my B point like this. I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'm going to apply the surrounding areas. I feel like never go for perfection with your designs. Always go for the best, to the best of your ability, and you're going to gradually improve over time. This way you keep kind of like a healthy approach with it all, and you're not too hard on yourself here. So allow me to get back in camera. So the same thing. I'm going to bring this around this way, and I'm going to add these areas right here. So you can see I move at a slow, steady, and consistent pace. Enough to deposit the ink. I'm always focused on needle depth as well. So that way I get the cleanest line that I can get without blowing out this line. I'm also thinking about the future of this tattoo. I don't want it to spread over time or a lot, so I want to be mindful of that. So running at a lower voltage can kind of help me control that, although we can't really control spread. So from here, what I'm going to do now is begin building up the rest of these areas right here. I'm kind of just going to use the same approach that I have been using. So I feel like it's coming out pretty clean so far. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Now this is a little bit too bulky for this area, as you can see, so I'm just going to open it one place it in here, and then continue like so. And then I'm going to continue the exact same process, the exact same workflow up throughout this design here. Make sure I have a little bit of ointment there. Make sure that my canvas is clean, ready to work with. And make sure that I am on camera here. Make sure that I have adequate ink flow. And then I'm going to follow the motions here. So you can see I'm moving the thumb to the side and I'm adjusting the client and I'm moving them to better benefit my angle and positioning that I'm using here. And you can see just from A to B. Same thing, A to B. And then we're going to repeat that going all the way up. So here's my A point. Slowly make my way to B. Here's my A point. Slowly make my way to B. And I'm going to repeat that all the way up here. And allow me to dab here to see what we have going. So far I love the way this is coming out. It's coming out nice and clean. I'm going to repeat that throughout here. From here I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it this way like so to get it up here and just to get it as stable as I can. And I'm just going to continue with the same motion. So you can see that I grab and move and kind of bend the client around to benefit the tattoo here. So I have to move the thumb, bring the hand this way. And I'm going to make sure that I'm comfortable. And make my way on over that way. So from here, I'm going to go for more ink. So that way I make it all the way through here. And I'm going to start positioning myself in more beneficial ways here that are going to benefit the design at hand. As you can see, so I'm going to go ahead and navigate from A on over to B. There is a little bit of pulling going on here, but it's okay. I'm just going to work through it. And then from here, I want to clean this up. And I'm going to repeat that again. I believe about 3 or 4 more times until we're done here with this little tattoo. So you can see this is what we are working with. It was just a lot of like problem solving, kind of fixing my posture and position. From here I can go ahead and add a little bit of shading should I choose to do so, but you can kind of get the idea behind it. There was practical reasoning and practical reasoning to the approach and movements that I was making to apply this little design to this sensitive area right here. When it comes to shading, it wouldn't be any different. I'm going to approach it the exact same way. We could probably even add a little bit of shading here, as I don't feel like it would take too long. But this ideology, these tips and tricks here, again, can apply to anywhere that you tattoo that's pretty difficult. Now, from here, what I'm going to do is just add shading. You can see, again, I'm locking in, making sure that I'm comfortable, the client's still positioned in a manner that's in my favor to apply the tattoo, still running at 5 volts. And I'm just going to apply subtle shading in all the right areas, and that is it. I don't want to add too much or none at all, but I feel like subtle shading would be a really good way to go here. And you can see that I'm just making sure that I'm comfortable, same way I did when I applied the lines before I apply the shading, and then I'm applying the shading as you see here. Now it is a little bit lighter because I'm using just these superficial layers of the skin, and I'm only going over it a couple of times, but you get the idea. You want to get the shading to your liking, to the tones that you want. Do that as you see fit. But it's the same thing, pretty much like lining. Your technique just changes. Now you do have to make sure that you're comfortable before you commit to anything, so that way you come out with clean, smooth results. We always want to shoot for clean and smooth over rushing and sketchy. So I know that that looks like that's all saturated, but I assure you it's not. You can see we got a little shade going on there. I'm going to repeat that with the remaining part of the design. Really simple, really straightforward. Dip back a little bit more ink. And then as you can see, I'm moving the thumb out of my way here. And I'm applying lines in this direction. Just a little cross hatching. Same thing right here. There we go. And I'm just going to repeat that all the way up. Allow me to wipe away so we can see. As you can see, very simple, very straightforward. You can even change your needle size if you want. If you need to change your angle, feel free to do so. We'll bring it this way, as you see. So you can see I shifted my position and posture here to allow me to do whip strokes that are in my direction as opposed to sideways, the original way that I started. And I'm just using small whip motions here in a direction that's beneficial for the design. And I'm positioning myself in a manner that's beneficial for the application. And there we have it. There we have a little bit of shading on this design, which was really quick and simple. I'm sorry if I got off camera there, but you can see these are the shadings that we are working with now. You always want to make sure that everything's even and nice the way that you like it before you continue. So you can see I'm going to position myself in a manner that allows me to make comfortable whip motions. I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm using the side of this round liner here to get small shading strokes going. And then from here, I'm going to add a little bit more Inkeeze, loosen the excess, and let's see what we have. That's looking fantastic. I just want to do one more little area that stands out to me right here. So you can see how I'm going about prioritizing my posture, my comfortability. Each and every time I apply these areas, I'm not applying anything in a manner that I'm uncomfortable with. I'm prioritizing my comfort so that way my application could be on point and I could accomplish clean, saturated, consistent, smooth looking tattoos. Now the idea and concept is pretty straightforward. You want to position yourself in a manner that you are comfortable with, and you also want to use the client or whatever you're using, move that and position that in practical manners that your client can move. So if my client was here, placing them down, having them move like this is not hard at all. So that's something practical that I can ask my client to do. So therefore I'm going to do so to help me better apply the design. So you can kind of see all of these little things added up, and they did help me apply a clean, solid, consistent tattoo. Now, as I've mentioned, the ideas and tips and tricks that I'm sharing with you here to accomplish tattoos in tougher areas are going to apply throughout the board here. So here you can see there are some toes in front of me. What if the client just wanted simple dots on all 5? So let me show you how I would go about doing that. So it's going to be the same thing. So I'm going to want to make sure that I have adequate ink flow. I would still run at 5 volts because it is a sensitive area and super easy to blow out. I would make sure that I get a needle size in correspondence to the dot size the client wanted. So that way I can kind of just be in and out and not have to sculpt each dot. And I'm going to go ahead and also make sure that before I do it, I have ointment on the areas that I'm going to be tattooing. More importantly, I'm going to position myself in a manner that better suits me here, so that way I can be comfortable and I can apply the tattoo to the absolute best of my ability. You're going to notice that there's a gap right here under the table from the toe to the table. I'm not sure if you're able to see that, but there is a tremendous gap here, and that right there is a problem because I'm going to be pressing in this area. So directly in the area that I'm going to be working with, I have a problem going on. What I'm going to do is problem solve, much like the hand there that I showed you a minute ago. I'm going to get a Scotch Shop White, And I'm just simply going to roll it up into a manner that helps me here apply the tattoo and keep this toe a little bit more stable. So I have one little ball there of a Scotch shop wipe, and then I'm going to repeat that and kind of place this under like so. So I'm going to, I know this is a little bit messy and a little bit weird, but it is going to get the job done. So I'm going to place that under, and each toe that I tattoo, I'm just going to move this little ball that I created on top of them to help me from having this bounce around. So that is what that's for. Took only a second or two. I'm going to continue now. So each area, I feel like it should be right in the center, not too high, not too low. And then I feel like I'm going to make sure that I'm comfortable. So you can see that I'm placing this part of my hand over the client's foot. I have this bracing the bottom to prevent any bouncing because I'm working on a silicone foot. From there, what I'm going to do is apply this dot where the client wanted. So it's going to be right here. And you can see I'm just going to let the needle catch. Do a little bit of circular motion like so, not too much at all, but just to know that the needle's depositing and breaking the skin there, like so. And I'm going to continue doing that to the rest of the 5. And I'm going to move the little bedding under it down to the second toe, and then I'm going to continue. So you can see I'm going to hold it in place with my thumb, put this one up here. I don't need to do any stretching in this area because I don't feel like the skin would be tight. And then I'm going to continue. But this one, I'm just going to sculpt it out a little bit more. Like so. And I am running at 5 volts, and I'm using just the very tip of the needle. So therefore, I'm going to give the needle a little bit more time to work. Same thing right here. I feel like slow and steady would really do the trick there. So as you can see, we have another one right there. And I'm going to continue with the remaining 3 the exact same way, going through the exact same process. So again, I'm going to make sure that I'm comfortable. The area that I'm tattooing has ointment. I'm going to actually move the mat down to these lower toes here, as you see. And then from here, I'm going to identify my area. Give it a little bit of time to catch and saturate. Again, I'm just using the very tip of the needle, and I'm allowing it to deposit the ink in a manner that I want. So as you can see, I'm getting clean, consistent dots, and they're not inconsistent. They're all very circular in the way that I want them to read. So that right there is a big deal. Now, I do feel like I'm able to get these sort of results because all the choices that I'm making are adding up to good results. The same thing right here. So you can see the mat is under there. Allow me to kind of fix that mat there. The same process I'm going to continue with these next 2 toes right here. And it's going to be the exact same thing, just small amounts of ointment. Not too much, not too little. Make sure they have adequate ink flow. Posture is comfortable. I have the mat and the bedding right here under the foot to help stabilize it. My left hand is holding the foot in place while my right hand is comfortable to apply the tattoo. I want to make sure that I have a good distance. And then from here, it's all about my technical application in my right hand. Take my time. And we got another clean dot. And I'm going to do that one last time right here. Like so. I'm going to go ahead and wipe these down, and then we're going to take a look at them. If I feel like there's any adjustments that we should make, I'm going to do so. But all in all, I really do love the way that these came out. I do feel like this one could have been a little bit more saturated. It's probably due to my angle. We learn as we go. But you can see not much of a change there at all either. I just needed to deposit a little bit more pigment so that way it stands the test of time. And you can see that is how I would go about tattooing a more sensitive, difficult area such as the toes. So here are the results that I got. I feel like they came out great. I do love the way that this reads, and I like the way that that looks as well. It goes well with the design that's already existing, so that's awesome. These are also something that we can easily add on to. We can put rings if we wanted, but the idea in terms of the technical application is going to be exactly the same. If I'm going to be using a smaller needle, I'm still going to be running at a lower voltage and still be using the very tip of it anyway. So the idea behind the application is going to be the same. It doesn't matter what size needle I'm using and it really doesn't matter where I am applying the tattoo. The same application in terms of prioritizing my comfortability and placement before I apply the tattoo is going to stay the same. Another good example would be, let's try that band idea. So what I would still do is the same thing, make sure that I have stability on whatever toe that I will be tattooing. And you can see that I'm going to do the same thing, find my placement. Since I'm going to be doing a band, I'm going to approach it sideways this way, so that way I could work in a motion that's comfortable for me, as opposed to this way and this way. You get the idea. I feel like it'd be more smoother pulling in towards me, so therefore I'm going to ask the client to move this way, and I'm going to adjust them in a manner that allows me to pull it towards me this way. The same thing, and I'm also going to be using a smaller needle. This is going to be, I believe, a big wasp 4th generation needle, still running at 5 volts, and the same rule of thumb would apply. So if a client, for example, wants a band there, what I would do is the exact same thing. Make sure that I'm comfortable, make sure that my toe is stabilized or the canvas is stabilized, and I'm able to get from A to B. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here, and I can do it in a manner that's comfortable for me. We're not going to go all the way around, just off to the sides here. I did hit that other side a little bit, but we're okay. Just a little bit of ink got on there. It wasn't a hard hit at all, as you can see. But that's how I would go about creating a band. And you can see I'm using a smaller line weight, and I'm running at a lower voltage, which means that I can really build it up. If the client wanted thin bands like that, then I would leave it like that. You get the idea. So I would do the same thing. My toe stabilized. My posture here is comfortable. And I'm going to make sure that I could apply this as cleanly as I can here. And I'm just going to simply go over the line again and just build it up like so. And however many lines the client wanted and agreed upon, that's how many I would do, but with that exact same process. You can see I'm using a smaller needle, so now this tattoo on this toe is becoming interesting and looking great. I like the way that that reads. It's nice and ornamental. If the client wanted it to go all the way around, we can definitely do so. So this is where things become a lot more interesting. So what I would do is I would move the toe as far as I can turn it. Now, this silicone is actually going to move a lot more than a real toe, but on a real toe, I'm pretty sure that I'd be able to move it just a little bit more. And in that case, I would bend it just a little bit more. And then I would continue to taper in from the existing line. And I would continue applying the line down like so. Now, let's say if that hurt the client and they were kind of like complaining when we did decide to move the toe like that, some clients could consider that as bending. So let's say if we can't do that, another approach would be to kind of tell the client to lean over if they can, like so. So that way the toe is facing up in the area that you need it to. So you can see now I'm going to tip my client over this way, and I'm going to stabilize the toe and lean it against this one. So you can kind of see that it really is just a matter of problem solving your way through the entire thing. And I can bring it more around, kind of making the band a little bit more thicker and finalizing it and wrapping it all the way. The same thing would be for this side. If I need to go this side, I'll ask the client to tip their foot this way or their leg this way, and I would do the same thing. So taper this way. Now let's say if I wasn't comfortable moving in that direction, same concept applies. What I'm going to do is I'm either going to get on the other side of the table, which means I'm going to now be on this side. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to apply it after I've stabilized myself and after I've gotten comfortable. That part's very, very important. So the same thing. I'm going to make sure that I have ointment in my area. I feel more comfortable this way. As you can see, I'm going to spread the toe here. It's stabilized on the matting on the bottom. Make sure that I'm comfortable. And then begin by tapering into an existing area and bringing it around. My angle is getting a little bit messed up there. I don't want that sort of angle. So again, we're going to ask the client to tip their leg. And then from here, what I can do is pick up the toe a little bit, lean it this way. I'm not sure if you can kind of see that on camera, but the idea would be to kind of pick it up and lean it this way with this hand, like so. move the mat a little bit, and you can see I'm kind of leaning it right there. I believe this would be totally doable even on a human, on a real foot. This shouldn't be an issue here. Make sure that you have adequate ink flow. Make sure that you have ointment, and then you want to continue. So I'm going to taper in here. Bear with me, make sure that I'm nice and stable. There is a little bit of slip, as you can see there. So I'm just going to do my best to bring it around like so. I'm going to bring it around as much as I can per client's request there. And if I notice any like line weight fluctuations, you just simply go back and kind of work up the design. So you can see I'm bending the the toe still. And then I'm going to go this way, and this is the area where my angle's a little off. So I'm going to move the client and tip them over and apply it from the bottom going upwards, so that way I get a better angle on my needle depth. And as you can see, now I have a nice clean bend all the way around this toe right here. Allow me to put some ointment so that way we can see what we are working with now. Allow me to show you from this way here. And there we go. Now we have a band around the foot, and if we go this way, it looks like it's wrapping around the entire way, which is pretty cool. Now, if the client wanted it to go more, then you would just simply repeat that, and let me show you that as well. So I just want to really get these points across and kind of really drill it in your head that we really have to make sure to prioritize our comfort. So let's say the client was a tough one there, and they wanted it to go all the way around as much as they can. So I'm going to taper in from here and do the same thing. And you can kind of see I'm actually turning the toe here as I tattoo to get as far as I can get, which means I got a lot further than I did the other way. And you can see that my client is actually leaned over and really folding their leg this way to give me the best position that I can get to apply this design or this ring right here on their toe. That actually came out really nice. I do feel like the line weight was nice, and over time it's gonna bold out a little bit and settle as all ink does, so I feel like it would read nicely. And you can see now it looks like it does go all the way around. So if we leave the toes in place, you can see that they do have a band that goes all the way around. It actually reads really, really nice and really, really clean. I love the way that it came out. That right there is how I would go about tattooing a more difficult area like this. Allow me to demonstrate one more time with this level 3 right here. Actually, I may be able to even do a level 4 real quick for you, but you can kind of see, here's a level 3. I obviously don't want to be tattooing this tattoo like this, where I'm putting my hands over the client right here and kind of doing that. That's just not ethically correct. We don't want to be putting our hands all over a client's face like this just to apply a tattoo. So I'm going to go back to the basics. I'm going to use the basics throughout each and every level, and I hope by now you can kind of see that's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to position the client in a manner that's comfortable for me. So I'm going to have them lay down, as you can see, and I'm going to get on the side of the table that requires me that gives me easy access to this side of their head right here, as you can see. And then from here, what I'm going to do is now I can get more comfortable on this area right here, which is a lot more ethical, I feel, as opposed to being all over their face. And that would be the same thing for this tattoo right here on the forehead. So it'd be the exact same approach. And you can see from here, what I can do is I can position myself in manners that allows me to be really comfortable without being too invasive on the client. So I feel like that is everything, and then from there I can begin to work on the tattoo and complete it to the best of my ability for the client. And the same things, as I mentioned, the basics, I'm making sure that I'm comfortable, my hands are correct, running at a low healthy voltage that I am comfortable with, and using an appropriate needle size and aligning my hand speed, my voltage to my needle depth. You get the idea. So I'm using this over and over and over to apply tattoos. Doesn't matter the complexity. We're still always going to be using the basics, whether it's level 1 and level 4. As you can see, I wipe away, continue the process. And again, this is a lot more ethical because even when I wipe away, I'm going to be dealing in this area right here. Now, if the client wanted it right here, obviously they know that there's going to be some splatter and maybe a little bit of ink right here in this area. So this area is a lot more forgiving because the client would know that it's going to get a little bit dirty, as opposed to this area right here. We're probably just going to have dirty right here. You get the idea behind it though. We want to be as ethical as possible Same thing for this side. If I'm going to be doing the chin, then I'm going to be sitting somewhere in this area on either side, probably both, so that way I can work on different sides of the tattoo. I'm gonna have the client lean their head back to help me, so therefore I can position myself right here and right here, as you see around their neck, and then I'm going to tattoo that as cleanly as possible while my table holds their head like this. So that right there is how I would go about tattooing a tough area such as the chin. You can kind of see though by now that it really is taking our time to figure out the most comfortable posture and positioning to be able to apply the tattoo correctly using the correct hand speed, voltage, and angles. As mentioned, it's the same thing with level 4. So you could see right here, I would simply position myself. I'd probably hold an ear from the back like this because I wouldn't really need to stretch I wouldn't need to stretch an ear. And then from here, I would begin to work this level 4 tattoo like so. I actually have a video where I did this full tattoo real time on my YouTube channel. You could just go to the videos, type in ear, and this one should pop right on up on how I went about tattooing it, but you get the idea. I'm basically gonna work the ear and stretch it in a manner that's comfortable for me, keeping my hand speed, my voltage aligned. As you can see, I'm getting comfortable before I commit. And you can see that this one's a little bit more different because I have to use my pinky to brace, so that way I'm not sliding anywhere. And then I use this ring finger to go up against right here to keep me a little bit more stable. You can see I have the ear stretched out back here. And then now I feel comfortable enough to begin to apply the tattoo. And that is basically, in a nutshell, how I went about applying this design right here on this level 4 area. And then I'll simply dab, wipe away, and repeat. So I do hope by now you can see that when we are tattooing on tougher spots within the human body, comfort, posture, positioning, along with our hand speed, voltage, and needle depth are going to go a long way. I often, as I've stated, find myself going back to the basics no matter what level of tattoo that I am doing, whether it's 1 all the way up to 4. As you can see, I'm still using the exact same approach, just tattooing different areas of the body. We did this one right here for this demonstration. It came out nice and clean in my opinion. We did this little ornamental, we did these dots as well as this little band right here, and I love the way that that reads. And we didn't do anything with this one, but we also did the ear as well, a little bit of work in there to kind of demonstrate my points. Don't forget to prioritize your comfort, your posture, and your positioning. Don't forget that you are able to ask your client to move within reasonable ways so that way you can better apply a tattoo. Don't forget to have your hand speed aligned to your voltage. Don't forget about selecting the right needle for the right area and the right application that you are trying to do. Over time, we will gradually improve with all of these little fundamentals and get better and better. So don't be too worried right now. Kind of make all of these choices, make the mistakes along the way, so that way you will make that gradual improvement. All in all, I do feel like this would be a great place to wrap up this video and conclude the video. Now, if you have any questions at all, if I didn't touch base on something specific that you may want to know, I'm going to encourage you to please drop a comment down below. Rest assured, I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. You have a great day.